to return and lead an uprising against me, a boy who could fly. He's the one we've been waiting for.
You will unite our people against the pirates.
Give me that boy.
I'm not afraid of him. Oh, come on!
O'Neill.
I will never back you. Pan!
Pan, rated PG, in theaters October 9th.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the three films that make up October 9th, 2015. And let's just say we're starting off with a doozy of a movie, man, because holy mother of God, this film, Pan. Some of you may not remember this movie. In fact, most of you may not remember this movie because it was a massive flop when it came out. It was a movie that was shuffled around all throughout the year, and pretty much as you can tell, that's usually not a very good sign for a movie like this, especially considering October is usually the month when studios put out films they believe in, and yet this was back when family films were not considered. You know, when you put family films in October, we're pretty much the equivalent of any movie between late August and early September. If they're putting a movie like this in October without, like, a theme of Halloween, like what we'll have next week with Goosebumps, chances are the movie isn't that great. And sure enough, here's an example of that. This is a prequel to the play Peter Pan or the Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, better known for its 1911 novelization by J.M. Barrie. And you have focusing on the original origin story of Peter Pan and Captain Hook, Pan being played by Levi Miller, Captain Hook being played by Garrett Hedlund, and they have the Captain Blackbeard played by Hugh Jackman, Rooney Mara as Tiger Lily. That cast alone should pretty much tell you some of the problems right from the get-go here, but the director of this movie is not a hack director, though. This is Joe Wright. Joe Wright gave us, of course, Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, The Kid Who Would Be King. This is a good director. The Soloist, this is a very solid director. Actually, no, this is not the guy who gave us The Boy Who Would Be King later on. That's somebody else. But, yeah, this is a good director who did Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, The Soloist. And yet, yeah, this is a real mess of a movie, man. So let's start with some of the obvious things about this particular movie that are really just like, what the hell were you guys thinking? So they take a lot of liberties with this. There's this whole idea that we're going to do an origin story, essentially, with Peter Pan, and this is one of those movies they were trying to promote as, like, the next big family franchise, and when you try to do that, yeah, chances are the movie isn't going to turn out that great. But here's where the movie really starts to, it's right from the get-go. When they make it to Neverland for the first time ever, you see all the Lost Boys and everyone inside of this is in this thing that the captain has everyone entrapped in, singing "Smells Like Teen Spirit," the Nirvana song. Now, you could make an argument that that's something taken from The Hook, because in Hook, if you remember in Hook, the Lost Boys were supposed to be kind of like a mix between kids from different generations. Like, you have some kids taken from the 70s, the 80s, Rufio was supposed to be from the 80s, like, there's a bunch of period kids there. Like, I mean, even if you want to go to that route, this still makes no goddamn sense. Why are they singing a Nirvana song, and then they sing Blitzkrieg Bop from the Ramones? It's just kind of like, what is going on in this movie? And that's before we even get to the casting of this movie, because, man, the casting is all over the place here. But, I will say this. One person who seems like he's having the time of his life in this, Hugh Jackman as Blackbeard. I mean, this guy is so hamming it up, and you can just tell he is taking every single moment of this and just chewing up as much scenery as he can. I mean, just listen to this line.
Gentle children, you who weep molten pearls of innocent tears, dry them, dear nymphs, for I have sprung you from life's cruel dungeon, and hereby grant you liberty.
Now, I had to take that from the Double Toaster review, so that's why you hear all the laughing in the background. That's Corey Martin and Tommy, when that movie was coming out. But you see what I'm talking about. You can tell he knows what type of a movie he's in, and he does have some of the funnier moments in the movie with those over-the-top line readings. Just like, "But I have spared you from his and granted you liberty." Like, that type of stuff is really funny. Where it doesn't get funny is with some of the other characters, specifically Garrett Hedlund as Captain Hook. Now, remember, a couple years ago, this guy was set to be the next big Hollywood superstar with Tron Legacy coming out, and hasn't really done a whole lot since then. He was in Inside Llewellyn Davis, he was in Unbroken, but other than that, though, yeah, he has not done shit since this movie. I mean, he was one of those actors that has kind of just been pushed off to the side. Apparently, he's a musician now because I'm looking at some of his filmography. He's done stuff. Okay, he's still working. He was in a. That's right, he was in Reservation Dogs. I remember that episode he was in. But I should know this because he was in Tulsa King too, and I like that show, the Sylvester Stallone show done by the guys who did Yellowstone. But I bring him up because the movie's supposed to set up kind of a friendship between Pan and Hook that you know is eventually going to turn into the rivalry that it is. But, I mean, Garrett Hedlund's performance in this, how do I put this, is not good. Not good at all. I probably will turn this over to somebody's review that I think is much better, is a perfect representation of how to look at this performance in general. This is what Jeremy Jahns had to say about Garrett Hedlund as Hook.
Look along the way in the mine, this dude. I don't know what cartoon this guy was doing, but this guy, he always talks like out of the corner of his hat. He's always like, name's James Hook. I was like, what version of American, what is that? I'll tell you what it is. It's what other countries think Americans talk like. I'm here, guys. We don't all sound like that. In fact, the majority of us don't. You just always see Americans who look and talk and act like Hook in this movie on the news because they're always talking about what the UFO looked like or they're just giving Kim Davis high five. Name's James Hook. I don't know what he was channeling. I got nothing for you.
And I swear to God, I could not. I've tried my best to hold it together, watching that and seeing him doing the whole name's James Hook with that derpy picture of Garrett Hedlund as Hook on the corner there. I completely forgot that picture was there, and I had so much trouble holding it together because I couldn't stop laughing at how bad that was. I mean, that's a perfect representation of Garrett Hedlund's performance in this because you have no idea what type of a language what he's talking in this movie. Like, he's trying to do these different accents, but he can't put one together. It's like when you watch it's like when you watch that Pauly Shore Pinocchio movie and you have that one girl who has this weird amount of accent, this weird accent, you can't figure out what they're trying to do with it. Like, is it supposed to be some type of a French language? Is it supposed to be type of an American language? It's just like, it goes all over the place. Like, that's what it felt like watching Garrett Hedlund in this movie. You have no idea what he's trying to do with this performance whatsoever. And I mean, unlike Hugh Jackman, where he's so over the top with it, like, you can't enjoy this because of Garrett Hedlund's performance, because you don't even know what the hell he's doing in this film with this performance. Everything else about this movie is just such a sloppy mess. Levi Miller, a good kid actor, but man, he is so bland and forgettable as Peter Pan. Rooney Mara as Tiger Lily. They only got her because, you know, she's Rooney Mara. She's the biggest star they can get, even though she is clearly not Native American. And yeah, another one of those movies where I think this is one of those last movies where studios started to realize, yeah, maybe we should stop doing this. I mean, if Exodus Gods and Kings wasn't enough to say that, I mean, it was so bad that even Joe Wright thought about quitting directing and considered retirement before he came back with Darkest Hour a couple years later. I mean, that's how bad this movie was. I think really the biggest problem with Pan comes from the way it was marketed from the beginning. If you look at some of those posters early on, you could tell they had no idea how to sell this fucking movie. It looked like at first, there's one poster I remember where it was just the back of the ship and it had like a, you know, it was like a bar or something. Let me see if I can find it here. Right here, as you can see, it's literally a poster that says Jolly Roger. Like, it feels like it just feels, that poster alone, I think, perfectly sums up everything that is wrong with how they sold this movie, because I really don't feel like they had an idea of what they were trying to do here. That looks like something that they're trying to sell as like a Moulin Rouge for kids, but this is not Moulin Rouge. And, you know, trust me, Moulin Rouge is probably more kid-friendly than whatever the hell this garbage is supposed to be. I mean, that poster alone, I think, perfectly sums up everything that is wrong with this movie. It has no identity to it. There is no indication of what they're trying to do here. All they're trying to do is create the next big franchise for them, create their next big series of films, and yeah, it didn't happen that way. This is just another one of those Peter Pan adaptations that never went anywhere, and for obvious reasons was a massive failure. It just fails on every single level. It's a terrible movie. It's a really bad film. It almost made a really good director quit, and you know, it's just, there's not much more I can really add to it. It's just a terrible fucking movie. It just isn't funny. It's not entertaining. It's just a bad film. Plain and simple. It sucks. So yeah, there you go. That is Pan for you. So let's go ahead and move on to a much better movie. Far from a much better movie. One of the best movies of the year that, once again, like with some of the other movies we've talked about this year, did well with critics. Audiences didn't want to go see that one. No, unfortunately. But they really should have. This is Steve Jobs.
Two most significant events of the 20th century. The Allies win the war, and this.
Your Apple stock's worth $441 million, while your daughter and her mother are on welfare.
She's not my daughter!
I'm the only one who knows that this guy is someone you invented.
What you make isn't supposed to be the best part of you. You're a father. That's what's supposed to be the best part of you.
You're issuing contradictory instructions, you're insubordinate. I sat in a garage and invented the future. Because artists lead and hacks ask for a show of hands.
We've spoken to the fire marshal and the building manager. They're going to come in and tell everyone to leave.
You explain to the fire marshal that we're in here changing the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
This is, of course, based off of the Steve Jobs book by Walter Isaacson, which coincidentally I think came out just a couple of weeks after Steve Jobs passed away. If not after that, it was before that. It was around that time. But in this movie, you have the story of Steve Jobs. His passion and ingenuity has been the driving force behind the digital age. However, his drive to revolutionize technology was sacrificial. Ultimately, it affected his family life and possibly his health. In this revealing film, we explore the trials and triumphs of a modern-day genius, the late CEO of Apple Inc., Stephen Paul Jobs. And I'm an Aaron Sorkin guy. I love this guy's work. I've loved it all the way back from the very beginning with A Few Good Men, one of his early films that I saw. You know, of course, The West Wing was a great show. The Newsroom was a great show and has one of the stars from The Newsroom in it, Jeff Daniels. We'll get to him in a little bit, but when he attaches himself to a project, I get excited, man. This is one of those guys that anytime his name gets involved in anything, I'm right there waiting. He has delivered some of the best, most brilliant, most smart writing of any screenwriter on the planet. And to see him bring that to the story of Steve Jobs, you can't help but expect greatness. And that's what you do get here. This is actually a different kind of biopic you expect from the trailers, which actually makes it a lot more interesting than it actually is. Unlike most biopics where we follow nearly every single part of this person's life, it only focuses on 3 key moments in the life of Steve Jobs. The 1984 Macintosh announcement, the 1988 Next announcement, and finally the 1998 iMac announcement, each having very similar subplots going on, while at the same time briefly mentioning other events, such as Jobs and Steve Wozniak putting together their first computer together, and Jobs being initially fired from Apple. It does go for a little bit of an art house biopic approach, much like how last year's Get On Up did it, but at the same time, I think this movie takes that approach a hell of a lot better than that movie did. The way that movie kept changing time periods with no real intentions killed the mood of that movie for me, despite a great performance by Chadwick Boseman. Here, this is done much better, it's much more fluent, it's much more fleshed out, and it just works. It's written brilliantly where we don't really need to have a lot of story to understand Jobs' personal demons with his work, especially with his family. And I think Sorkin does a very good job of spelling it out in a way that isn't dumbing it down for the audience. It's a thinking man's biopic. And of course, with a biopic about one of the most innovative technological geniuses of our time, you'd think the movie would have turned him into a great American hero. No, actually it doesn't. It doesn't let Steve Jobs off the hook at all. I mean, they show him as a genius, but he's kind of an asshole genius too. He's got a huge ego on him, and because of that, he thinks what he thinks he wants to think, and he believes what he wants to believe. It's not until the very end where he has clarity and realizes that he is a big jerk and is trying to make amends with mostly with his daughter Lisa. And the casting overall is top-notch in this movie. Michael Fassbender is phenomenal as Steve Jobs. He makes this work. He is giving it more than Ashton Kutcher did in that other Jobs biopic. I mean, this one just works so well. His chemistry with his assistant, played by Kate Winslet, is great. Winslet's giving another great performance, which I think she also got nominated for an Oscar for this, as did Michael Fassbender for this performance, which rightfully so. They were both terrific. You know, Jeff Daniels is really good in this movie, playing John Scully, and like he knocks it out of the park. Everyone associates a lot of people associate Jeff Daniels mostly with Dumb and Dumber, but you forget this guy is one of our best actors. He's been doing this now at this time he was doing it for nearly 30 years, and he knocks it out of the park. He's great. Seth Rogen is great as Wozniak. I mean, I don't know what it is about Sorkin scripting projects that take these great comedic actors and turn them into good dramatic actors. We saw it with Rashida Jones in the Social Network, Chris Pratt in Moneyball, and now in this movie. And he's really great. You get a great performance by Katherine Waterston playing Lisa's mother, Jobs' ex-girlfriend. Michael Stuhlbarg's really good playing Andy Hertzfeld. What I really like about this movie is that Danny Boyle films the movie in these very unique ways. Like, some of the unique filming techniques that they do in here are very impressive. Like in 1984, you got this segment of the movie where he's showing the 1984 commercial, and the film literally feels like it's being shot in 1984. If you watch closely, you can see little bits of film grain during scenes that make the scenes look like they were filmed in that year. It's one of those impressive approaches of filmmaking that this movie decides to take with it, and why I think this is one of the more impressive and interesting biopics of recent memory. I mean, yeah, the trailers make it look like it's a typical biopic, judging by the trailers, and it really is one of the best approaches to a biopic I've seen in a long, long time. Strong performances by Michael Fassbender, of course, and Kate Winslet. Great writing by Aaron Sorkin. Great direction by Danny Boyle. This is one of the best movies of the year. It's a terrific film that, sadly, again, didn't get the box office that it deserved. It probably was a flop because there was so much hype behind it, because it's directed by Danny Boyle, who did Slumdog Millionaire, and Aaron Sorkin, who wrote The Social Network, which were Oscar winners. But seriously, this is a movie you got to check out, and it's definitely one of the best biopics in recent memories. I can't recommend this one enough. If you haven't seen Steve Jobs, see it. It's definitely one of the best movies you'll see in 2015, easily. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is Keanu Reeves and Eli Roth's better film of 2015, Knock Knock.
Hello?
1 second, sir, please. Hi. Where's your wife?
She's at the beach with my kids.
An architect and an artist? You guys are like perfect. Man, she's so hot.
I can't do this.
Yes, you can.
The big twist is that it's actually John Wick that these two ladies go into the house for, and at that point, they're fucked. It would be funny if that turned out that way, but Keanu Reeves stars as a devoted husband and father who's left home alone for the weekend, where two stranded young women, one of them played by Ana de Armas, unexpectedly knocks on the door for help. What starts out as a kind gesture results in a dangerous seduction and a deadly game of cat and mouse. And you have these two, the other girl is played by Lorenza Izzo, and they're both seductresses who wreak havoc into his life and turning a merry man's dark fantasy into his worst nightmare. Now, what I really like about this more than I liked about The Green Inferno. The Green Inferno had a unique idea to it, but trying to make that type of a film, like The Green Inferno was trying to do in 2015, that's going to be hard to sell to people in general. That's a film where it's going to be like, yeah, that's not going to work too well here in this day and age. But this movie, however, the chances that this movie takes are so well done. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I like this movie because Keanu Reeves does elevate this to another level. You do really feel scared for this guy's life, because this should be every guy's fantasy. Two hot women coming into your home looking for a place to stay, and you think, okay, you're about to get some action. Well, not only is the fact that Keanu Reeves is a married man and has kids, but these two chicks end up becoming much more dangerous than he could have possibly imagined. And I do like the fact that this movie does take a lot of chances with the way that it's set up here, with the twists and turns that it takes. It's a really good movie. It's a really exciting film, and Keanu Reeves elevates it to another level. And yeah, it's a film that is very intense. It's very much. It did everything that The Green Inferno, I felt like, didn't give us. It took you by surprise. It didn't play it safe on any means necessary. It took a lot of chances with it, and it worked all the way across the board. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's a very underrated film from Keanu Reeves. It's probably one of my favorite Eli Roth movies. Going to look at the films he's done, I'm trying to think of what movies he's made that I've actually really liked. I guess Grindhouse counts, but another one I would probably say, well, I like The House with the Clock in Its Walls. I thought that was pretty good. I haven't seen Death Wish yet, but I'll get to that one when we get to 2018. I didn't like Borderlands. I wasn't that big of a fan of Thanksgiving, but he's not a bad director. It's just a lot of his stuff I really am not a big fan of overall. But this one is definitely one of my favorites from him. A very underrated film. One worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Knock Knock is definitely worth it. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and the hits will keep on coming in a very strong October, because coming up on the next episode, we have that aforementioned family film I mentioned, the adaptation of R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, with Jack Black starring as R.L. Stein, in a very unique turn on the classic book series from your childhood, your childhood, and my childhood too, because those books came out around the time I was growing up in the 90s, but we have Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies, starring Tom Hanks, and an Oscar-winning performance by Mark Rylance, which, me personally, I was really glad that he won. But, of course, in that year, Sylvester Stallone was up for Creed. We'll touch on that one tomorrow. We'll talk about that one. We'll talk about Guillermo del Toro's latest film, not one of his better films, Crimson Peak. But we also have another Oscar winner, Brie Larson, starring in the movie Room with Jacob Tremblay. We also have Truth, which is a movie about the end of the Dan Rather era at CBS in 2004. And then we have Netflix getting into the movie scene with their first movie, Beast of No Nation, from director starring Idris Elba. So we got, I believe that's 6 movies coming up on the next episode. So a lot of really good movies to talk about tomorrow. I can't wait to talk about them. And we will do all of that, of course, tomorrow here on the show. So stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.